Hey everyone, welcome to the first ever collab video. I'm Ilya Gluskin,
And I'm CJ Mimi.
and we're going to talk about how not to get injured in a group class environment.
So some pros and cons of group classes. Pro, you have a community to support you.
Con, sometimes you can get carried away in that community and start competing against your friend or just that random person in the back of the room or the front of the room.
Yep. Pros can be on how you choose your instructor. And we'll go into a couple of those. Cons can be maybe sometimes how big your class is. So some things to think about with pros of choosing the class instructor is, do they teach multiple levels of the activity that you're participating in?
How long they've been instructing, right?
That's true too.
Are they instructing just that specific exercise, whether it be bar, yoga, CrossFit, whatever it is, or do they have mixed experience and knowledge of different movements?
And actually, that brings up a really good point in terms of, can they progress and regress an activity based on maybe something is too challenging for you, and maybe that shows up in terms of your form's not great, or it's uncomfortable or painful, and does that instructor have the knowledge base to say, okay, maybe not today, how about this? Or that's too easy for you, how about this other thing?
And so how do you screen for this, right? You're not going to just walk into an exercise program and ask for someone's resume, right? So, hopefully they have this information listed on their website, some kind of certification,
Their experience, it makes sense though. And the other thing too, I guess, something that I haven't really considered until very recently is the power of social media. So if you find this person, more than likely if they're teaching group classes, they're all over social media, find them, go read their captions. Pick a bunch of random posts of theirs, read through the caption. You can get a good idea of their personality and their philosophy, and not only working out, but just in general, which could help you decide whether that person is a good fit for you or maybe not so great fit for you.
And then looking at, another easy thing to do is just go observe, right? You don't have to even take part in that class. Just see how they run it. Is that instructor involved? Are they making, individual one-on-one kind of adjustments? Are they hands-on, or are they just standing at the front of the class, kind of dictating what to do, right? So kind of different experience and different skill set required to do one or the other there, right?
Right. And some teachers, the really good ones, are able to participate with you and do the activities at the same time as their students or their participants in the class. But also sometimes if they do the activity with you, they get a little bit like blinders on in terms of they're so in the moment with themselves. But a teacher that can do it at the same time, so they're demonstrating form while also paying attention to, okay, that person needs me.
Yeah, and then also just being aware who else is in the class with you, right? So if it's a class full of people that have been doing it for years, that instructor might be a little bit more hands-off, but hopefully is giving you a little bit more hands-on if you do need it, and vice versa. If it's a really beginner's class, you have to understand that they're probably going to be adjusting multiple people, and you may not get the attention that you're looking for, but that's going to fluctuate.
Right.
Class to class potentially, unless you're solely in a beginner's class or what depending on the structure of that program.
Right. And the other thing to think about too is we're talking a lot about the instructor, but it's also your personality. So knowing, am I shy? Am I not going to want to ask for feedback during class? So maybe you're the type of person that needs to go out of your way intentionally at the beginning of class and say, hey, my name's CJ, I'm new here, I'm really excited about the class, I'm wondering if during class or after class I can ask you quick questions, just as I ramp up and start to get the rhythm of these classes, because I've heard great things. I think most instructors would be, over the moon hearing that they've heard great things and be more willing to give you feedback.
So another area is kind of within yourself, right? So knowing your limits, knowing where you're starting. Is this your first time trying an exercise class? Or did you maybe do this 10 years ago and you're getting back to it? So being aware of that, being aware of what you're capable of in the moment, forget what you did 5 years ago or however long it was, and start over a little bit, and that's okay. I think it's tough to do that sometimes in a group setting when people are doing things that are a little bit more skillful, more weight, whatever it may be, moving quicker, doing more volume. Not yet. If your body can't handle it, just listen to your body and adjust accordingly. I know in CrossFit, at least, the biggest risk factors are those individuals that were maybe college athletes that at one point really competed at a high level, and maybe it's been 5 years since they graduated, they got a desk job, they haven't really been as active, and now they decided that they want to get back into some kind of activity or sport, right? And they tend to go 100% in and just too much too soon, and those are the people that are probably at highest risk for injury. So avoiding that, knowing who you are and the steps you need to take to not get hurt and progress appropriately.
Yeah, it's the same thing in my yoga classes as well. I always tell my students intentionally, your body's going to be different every day. So your body does change from your college days to your now desk job days, but also day to day, depending on how well you've slept, how well you've eaten, how stressed you are. There's so many factors that go into the quality of the movement that you can put out today and that you can produce today. And just being mindful and in the moment with yourself of, okay, this doesn't feel like it did yesterday, and maybe something you can do today, you can't do tomorrow, but you can do again the next day after that. So it's really being adaptable within yourself as well.
That's right. That's a great point. And then let's talk about some of the aspects of community in whichever type of group exercise class that you choose. I think that in terms of injury, right, it's easy to, again, kind of get carried away in the community mentality, regardless of the activity at hand. But the people there are typically going to be supportive, right? But going along with what CJ just said, they don't know if you only slept 2 hours, if you had poor nutrition the day before or the week before, or whatever it may be, and they don't know what your body can handle. So they might be, motivating you to go more or like push harder. They don't know what you're feeling. They don't know what you've experienced recently. So it really comes back to you at the end of the day to, stop or make adjustments and appropriately take in that motivation and community support, but without the negative
aspects of it. I mean, and motivation is, I feel like when people give you motivation or trying to be inspiring, they mean well. It's coming from a good place in their heart where they're like, you know what, Ilya, I believe in you, you can do this thing. And there's, I don't think they're coming from a bad place, but it depends on how you take it and what your body can do at the same time. So it's meeting that motivation halfway, I suppose, and what's appropriate. Maybe you won't take 100% of that motivation today. Maybe you'll take 70% or whatever it is. The other nice thing about building a community within group classes is that at the end of the class you can say, hey, I'll see you next Tuesday, and maybe you won't know these people's names for like weeks on end, and that's totally okay. Eventually, it would be nice to say like, oh, what was your name again? Oh, I'll see you next Tuesday. Are you going to that Thursday class with that teacher? There's a substitute, but I'm not sure. And it's nice to build that community because it'll help you keep accountable and make it more fun.
And that's really what matters, right? So being able to be consistent, and part of that is enjoying yourself, not getting hurt, and being healthy. And that's ultimately what we're trying to do: improve and promote a healthy lifestyle, whether it's yoga, CrossFit, bar, Orange Theory, whatever, right?
Even running groups outside.
Yeah, running groups. It's all good stuff.
If you had any specific group class, I know this is not something we had talked about, but if you have any specific group classes that you want to ask about, whether we know about it ourselves or we can check with some of our colleagues, we'd love to hear what you want to hear about. I think the last, two other bonus items, or we had talked about class size before starting to record.
Yeah, so that's another consideration you want to have, right? So if a class capacity is 5 people, you're going to get a ton of individual attention. That's great, but you're probably going to have to pay a little bit more for that, right? Versus a class that has 20 or 30 people, maybe even, where the price is a little bit more manageable, but you got to share that time with other people. And then I don't know if there's any rules in terms of how many instructors per class size.
No, that's facility dependent.
Yeah,
I've been to yoga classes, been 60 people in a class.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and I know in some CrossFit classes, depending on the gym, every gym is very individualized and they have their own kind of policies. But sometimes they'll have an assistant coach, or some have interns and things like that, just for other, another set of eyes, another set of hands to help out. Kind of what the space allows for too, right?
Right. And that's something that it's a normal question to ask before you decide to commit to a fitness class. You can ask the gym or whatever studio it is and say, okay, what is the structure? How many students or participants per instructor? Are there any aides? Are there drop-in classes? Do you have to commit to a specific number of weeks of this class? Can you do a trial period of 3 of them? There's so many different structures that really it's just up to you to ask, okay, what does this look like in your facility?
Another aspect to consider is warm-up. Part of that, I think, has to do with the scheduling of the class and your own schedule, right? So you want to try to give yourself some time that you're not just running in the door, 2 minutes before class starts, even just 5 or 10 minutes early, and work on some of those things that you've struggled with, or just get your heart rate up, get the blood flowing. Nothing too crazy, but appropriate warm-up goes a long way. I know in certain CrossFit classes we definitely have a warm-up as part of the class. I don't know how other group environments are structured.
I was just thinking that. So most of the fitness classes I've been to do incorporate some kind of warm-up. Depending on, so once you get to know this fitness instructor, usually people fitness instructors fall into their routine of, okay, these are the things I like to cover. If you've noticed week to week that you're like, well, I feel like my body needs a little bit more of hip openers or more shoulder prep or whatever it is that you feel your body needs, maybe those 5 to 10 minutes beforehand can include some of those, okay, I know the teacher's not necessarily going to focus a big deal or a big portion of it on this part, so I'm going to do that now and then finish it with the instructor after in terms of your warm-up.
All right, so programming, another aspect. So what we mean by that is, how often are you going to take this class? Every day, every other day? Are you programming appropriate rest or cross-training, right? If you're doing yoga, bar, spin, do you have a nice variety, or are you just kind of sticking to one thing? And that will impact your recovery.
That will also impact your performance at the next class. So what we often tell our patients in clinic is you want to do enough that you feel your muscles are tired the next day, but not enough that you can't walk the next day. So if you end up going to a class, whatever fitness class that may be, the next day you get up and you're like, wow, I'm really having trouble here, just like naturally moving around, like walking stairs, whatever it is, then going to another of those fitness classes that night or that morning, whatever it is, might not be the same performance as if you were adequately rested. So the muscles are more, they're ready for appropriate contractions and lengthening that you're going to need during the class.
Yeah, and based on the intensity that you put your body through, that will dictate what your recovery needs to be following that, and how many sessions or how many training sessions you could have in a week. And then as you build on that and hopefully progress, you'll be able to do more if that's what you want to be doing, or if you find a happy kind of place to just kind of coast and maintain it. Again, it kind of comes back to what your goal is. You don't always have to be progressing if you're happy with where you are, and that's totally fine.
Main goal, injury prevention.
Right. So you don't see us in the clinic
right.
too often.
So thanks for watching today. We enjoyed talking about injury prevention with you. If you have any additional questions or thoughts, we'd love to see them. Drop them below. And make sure that you follow us, Dr. CJ Mimi.
And at MG Lifestyle Solutions. And you can hit the subscribe button here if you're watching on my YouTube channel.
And I suppose mine's over here. Catch you later.
Thanks for watching.